Have you ever been accused of something so horrific, so unthinkable, that it shatters your entire world in an instant? I'm talking about the kind of betrayal that comes from the people who are supposed to have your back, your own family, pointing fingers at you for a tragedy you had no hand in, leaving you drowning in guilt, anger, and a desperate need to clear your name. That's the nightmare I've been living through, and I'm still not sure if I've come out the other side. This isn't just a story about being blamed. It's a raw, gut-wrenching journey through loss, suspicion, and the fight to hold on to my sanity while the people I love most turned against me. I'm going to take you through every agonizing moment, the day everything fell apart, the weight of false accusations, and a truth I never saw coming that changed how I saw everything. Stick with me, because I'm still wrestling with the fallout, and I need to know what you think. How do you rebuild trust when your family believes the worst of you? Let's dive into the darkest chapter of my life. My name's Ryan, and I'm 38 now, living in a small, weathered bungalow in Asheville, North Carolina, a quirky mountain town nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where the air always smells faintly of pine and the winding roads are lined with vibrant murals and buskers strumming guitars. Asheville's got this artsy, laid-back vibe, with its historic Biltmore Village and the misty peaks that loom in the distance. But for me, it's also a place of haunting memories, where every corner reminds me of a loss I can't escape. I grew up just outside town in a tight-knit community, where everyone knew everyone, and now I work as a freelance carpenter, building custom furniture in a cluttered garage workshop, trying to piece together a life that feels as broken as the scraps of what I sand down. The heart of this story, the wound that still festers, is about how my family accused me of being responsible for the death of my younger brother, Ethan, back in the fall of 2015, a tragedy that tore us apart and left me branded as the villain in their eyes. The key player in this mess is my older sister, Claire, now 42, a high-strung real estate agent with a protective streak a mile wide, who became the loudest voice in blaming me, rallying the rest of our family, our parents, aunts, uncles, into a chorus of suspicion I couldn't silence. The emotional conflict ripping through me was the clash between my deep grief over losing Ethan, my only brother and best friend, and the searing anger and betrayal I felt as Claire and the family turned their pain into accusations, leaving me isolated, questioning my own memories, and fighting to prove I wasn't the monster they thought I was. The unexpected twist came in late 2019, when I stumbled upon a hidden truth about Ethan's death that revealed it wasn't just a tragic accident, but tied to a secret struggle he'd been hiding from all of us, flipping my resentment toward Claire into a complicated mix of guilt and a desperate need to understand why she'd been so quick to point the finger. This story unfolds in Asheville during the turbulent years between 2015 and 2023, with the city's misty autumns, the vibrant chaos of its art festivals, and the quiet solitude of its mountain trails as the backdrop to my unraveling world. Every memory is tied to this place. The creak of the old porch at my childhood home, the smell of damp earth after a rainstorm in the mountains, the distant hum of downtown traffic that seemed to echo my growing despair. Memories of Ethan flood back as I sit in my workshop now, the scent of sawdust grounding me while I sand down a cedar table, the grain of the wood pulling me back to better days. I think about when we were kids, racing our bikes down the steep hills near Montford, laughing as we crashed into bushes, dreaming of adventures beyond Asheville's borders, him always the reckless one with a grin that could light up the darkest day. I remember the night before he died, sitting on the tailgate of my truck at a lookout over the Blue Ridge, sharing cheap beers and talking about nothing important, just soaking in the quiet, not knowing it'd be the last time I'd hear his laugh. Now, flipping through old Polaroids in a dusty shoebox, faded shots of us fishing at Lake Lure, grinning with sunburned noses after a hike. I wonder how something so unbreakable could shatter so fast, and why I didn't see the cracks in our family before they turned on me. The nightmare began on a crisp October morning in 2015, during one of Asheville's stunning fall seasons, when the leaves blaze orange and gold across the mountains, and the air bites just enough to wake you up. Except for me, when I woke to a call that changed everything. I'd been up late the night before, finishing a custom bookshelf for a client, when my phone buzzed at 6 a.m., Claire's name on the screen, her voice already gone when I answered, just a voicemail telling me to get to the hospital now. Ethan had been in a car accident on a winding back road near Black Mountain, his old Jeep found flipped in a ditch, and by the time I got there, his body was already cold, the sterile smell of antiseptic in the air choking me as I stood frozen, unable to process that he was gone at just 29. Standing in that hospital corridor, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, I felt a hollow open up inside me, a grief so raw I couldn't breathe, not knowing that the real pain was just beginning. The accusation started just days after the funeral, a moment that still burns in my memory like a fresh scar, when Claire's grief twisted into something darker during a tense family gathering at our parents' house in West Asheville. I was still numb, sitting on their sagging couch, the smell of Mom's overcooked casserole lingering, when Claire pulled me aside, her eyes red but sharp, and started questioning why I hadn't checked on Ethan that night, why I hadn't noticed he'd been drinking, implying I could have stopped him from driving if I'd cared enough. At first, I thought it was just her pain talking, but then I saw the looks from my parents, the whispers from aunts at the kitchen table, and realized they were all starting to wonder the same thing. Had I failed him? Standing there, the creak of the old house settling around me, I felt a mix of shock and rage crash over me, knowing I'd done nothing wrong, but seeing in their eyes that they were already rewriting the story with me as the cause. The emotional toll of their blame carved a hole in me, deeper than the valleys around Asheville, as the weeks turned into months and the suspicion grew heavier than a winter fog. I tried to defend myself at first, explaining I hadn't even known Ethan was out that night, but every family dinner or phone call became a minefield. Claire's pointed questions about my responsibility cutting deeper each time, leaving me sleepless in my tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling while the hum of crickets outside mocked my isolation. I drive aimlessly along the Blue Ridge Parkway, past the scenic overlooks where Ethan and I used to stop, the mountain's beauty a cruel contrast to my spiraling thoughts, hating myself for not pushing back harder, for letting their doubts fester. Asheville's charm, the vibrant street art downtown, the buzz of the River Arts District, felt like a backdrop to my pain, a reminder of the brother I'd lost and the family I was losing, each season passing like a countdown to complete exile. The aftermath was a slow, aching grind, stretching through 2016 and 2017, as I fought to clear my name while grappling with a grief I couldn't share with anyone who mattered. My relationship with Claire and the family didn't just cool, it froze solid, our interactions limited to stiff texts about holidays, every message laced with unspoken blame, like when she'd remind me of Ethan's birthday, as if I'd forgotten him. I'd spend hours in my workshop, sanding wood until my hands ached, the repetitive motion a distraction from the emotional ache. Coming home to an empty house where Ethan's old hoodie still hung in my closet, a relic I couldn't bear to move. Claire, meanwhile, kept the narrative alive, mentioning at every family event how things could have been different, leaving me to stew in frustration on late-night walks through my neighborhood, past bungalows with glowing windows, wondering why she needed a villain, if I'd ever be seen as anything but the cause. The city's holiday cheer, with lights twinkling along Biltmore Avenue, felt like a mockery of my struggle, each decoration a reminder of the unity I craved but couldn't grasp. The unexpected twist came in November 2019, on a dreary, rain-soaked afternoon in Asheville, when I finally uncovered the real story behind Ethan's death, a truth that shifted my anger into a tangled mess of guilt and lingering hurt. I'd reached a breaking point after another tense Thanksgiving text from Claire, her usual jab about honoring Ethan's memory, cutting deeper than ever, and I decided to dig into what really happened that night, going through Ethan's old things I'd stored in my garage, finding a hidden journal tucked in a box of his camping gear, reading it under the dim light of a work lamp, the smell of rain on concrete seeping through the cracks. I learned Ethan had been struggling with depression and substance abuse for months, hiding it from everyone, and that night he'd relapsed, driving under the influence not because I failed him, but because he was lost in a battle I never knew about. Standing there, the hum of the rain fading into the background, I felt a storm of emotions, shock at his secret, guilt for not seeing his pain, and a deep sadness that Claire had blamed me instead of facing the harder truth about her brother. Determined not to let this blame destroy what was left of me, I poured everything into understanding Ethan's struggle, turning my pain into a search for closure, even as I wrestled with this new reality about Claire. I started small, researching local support groups for addiction, sitting in on meetings at a community center near Pack Square, listening to stories that echoed Ethan's, slowly piecing together the signs I'd missed while grappling with my own grief. I tried reaching out to Claire, not to confront her outright, but to share what I'd found, a tense email where I attached scans of Ethan's journal pages, though her curt reply, "I need time," left me unsure if she'd ever face the truth. Asheville's winter, the quiet blanket of snow over the mountains, the glow of holiday markets downtown, felt like a cautious promise, though every step toward understanding Ethan still carried the weight of Claire's accusations. Reflecting on my past with Ethan and the family we used to be became a near-daily ritual, especially on quiet evenings in my workshop, the smell of wood stain grounding me as I thought about what could have been. I'd remember the nights we'd spent at local bars like the Orange Peel, catching live shows, planning road trips to the coast while the music drowned out our worries, a hope now tainted by the memory of Claire's cold stares at his funeral. I remembered the day we rebuilt Dad's old shed together, hauling lumber in the summer heat, laughing as we botched the roof, a memory now overshadowed by the image of Ethan's wrecked Jeep in my nightmares. I'd sit on my porch, watching the fog roll over the mountains, wondering if I'd been too distant, missing Ethan's cries for help, or if I'd ignored red flags and Claire's overprotectiveness from the start. Asheville's renewal, spring blooms along the French Broad River, the buzz of summer art fairs, felt like a challenge to my stagnation, a reminder that healing wasn't as simple as uncovering a journal or sending an email. As the years stretched into 2020 and beyond, I built a fragile balance on my own, though the unresolved tension with Claire lingered like the morning mist over the river. I moved into my current bungalow in early 2021, a small victory near Woodfin, furnishing it with pieces I'd built myself, each one a quiet vow to rebuild, though trust with my family came in slow, uneven waves, tested by every unanswered text or avoided call. I kept interactions with Claire minimal, seeing her only at necessary events like Mom's 70th birthday, our exchanges polite nods over cake, unable to fully let go of the hurt but too tired to fight. I started journaling myself, late at night with a beer, writing down memories of Ethan and me, from our first camping trip in Pisgah National Forest to the day he helped me fix my truck, hoping to anchor myself in the good while wrestling with whether I'd ever confront Claire fully. Asheville's quiet corners, the hidden trails near Craggy Pinnacle, the hush of early mornings by the river, became my refuge, places to question if I'd ever trust family dynamics again, or if that bond was gone for good. The grind of moving forward while carrying this hurt felt like trudging through Asheville's muddy trails after a storm, each step forward shadowed by a past I couldn't fully escape. I'd run into old friends at events like Leaf Festival, their casual, "How's the family?" questions a minefield, forcing me to smile through half-truths while inside I burned with the secret of Claire's blame, a weight I hadn't shared beyond a few close buddies. I started second-guessing my approach to her, wondering if I'd been too harsh in pulling away, or if closure meant a deeper conversation about Ethan's struggles, a thought that kept me up on nights when the wind howled outside my window louder than my resolve. I even considered reaching out to a therapist, floating the idea during a quiet moment alone, but backed out each time, terrified of reopening old wounds, unsure if it'd help me heal or just stir more tension. Driving down Merrimon Avenue alone, past the quirky shops, I wrestled with whether I'd let this blame steal too much from me, or if I'd reclaimed enough by holding on to Ethan's memory. The weight of judgment, both my own and the family's silent accusations, didn't fade easily. Even as I pushed forward, each memory of their blame a reminder of how fragile trust can be. I'd spend hours in my backyard, tinkering with a small garden, finding a whittled birdhouse Ethan made as a kid, and feel a pang of longing for the closeness we'd lost, now replaced by a guarded hope when I'd get a rare, neutral text from Mom. I started avoiding extended family gatherings beyond the bare minimum, unable to sit through hours of small talk with Claire there, wondering if she ever regretted her words or if she still saw me as the reason for Ethan's death. I'd walk through downtown Asheville on quiet evenings, past the street performers on Wall Street, feeling like a stranger in my own story, asking myself if I'd been too quick to distance myself from her, or if that space was the only way to protect what little peace I'd found. The city's charm, the glow of art galleries, the smell of fresh bread from local bakeries, felt like a mockery of my inner struggle, a reminder that moving on wasn't just about surviving, but about living with a scar. By mid-2023, I'd carved out a life I could call stable, with my carpentry business offering small joys, crafting heirloom pieces for clients, mentoring a local kid interested in woodworking, and a routine that felt stronger, though not unscathed. I celebrated small victories, like a solo hike to Mount Mitchell, standing at the summit with Ethan's old compass in my pocket, though I still caught flickers of grief in my reflection during quiet moments, a reminder of the trust one was still rebuilding with myself. Yet, every time I'd hear from Claire, a rare attempt to play nice, usually around holidays, I'd feel that old mix of resentment and curiosity, wondering if we'd ever truly address Ethan's truth, or if we were doomed to this surface-level truce. I started volunteering at a local addiction outreach program, sharing Ethan's story anonymously during workshops, the act a balm and a blade, unsure if I was healing or just hiding from the bigger questions about my sister and the family ties I'd let fray. Reflecting on the journey to clear my name and honor Ethan, I spent a lot of time wandering Asheville's quieter spots, like the trails near the Arboretum, The rolling hills a somber mirror to my mood as I thought about what I'd gained and lost. I'd remember the early days with Ethan, sneaking into late-night bonfires at friends' cabins, dreaming of a future while the firelight danced, a hope now tainted by the memory of Claire's accusing eyes at his memorial. I thought about Claire's fierce loyalty growing up, her overprotectiveness always hiding something deeper, a bond strained by grief. Now just a fleeting glance if I pass her at a family event. I'd sit on park benches near the river, sketching furniture designs in the fading light, wondering if I'd been too naive to see Ethan's pain, or if I'd ignored red flags and Claire's quickness to blame. Asheville's beauty, the rolling mountains, the vibrant murals, felt like a challenge, pushing me to decide if I'd let this hurt define me, or if I could forge something new despite it. Now, as I sit here in my workshop, the soft glow of a lantern casting shadows on the walls, the distant sound of a neighbor's guitar drifting through the open window, I'm still wrestling with where to go from here. My life feels steadier, but not whole, not yet. There are nights when I stare at Ethan's journal on my shelf, wondering if sharing more with Claire could mend something, or if it'd just reopen the wound. And then there's Claire herself. Part of me wants to sit down with her again, to hash out Ethan's struggle and our pain, maybe even find a way to grieve together if I can understand why she needed to blame me. But another part of me just wants to focus on my own healing and the life I'm building, to stop letting her accusations loom over me. Asheville's taught me resilience, with its rugged landscapes and stubborn spirit, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to face that part of my past head-on. So, I'm turning to you, my listeners, because I'm at a crossroads and I could really use your perspective. Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do, especially by family, and had to fight to clear your name? How did you handle it? Did you confront them, give them space, or just focus on yourself? I'm torn between reaching out to Claire for one last honest conversation, risking more tension, or letting the past stay buried and moving forward alone. What would you do in my shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I'm still figuring out how to honor Ethan's memory without losing more of myself in the process. Thanks for listening to my story. I'll see you in the next one.